1943, my brother, who was several years, he was 8 years older than I. He was a junior in college when he went in. He signed up and went into the Navy Air Corps, and he was stationed. And we found out later he was down in Florida. Of course, his job was that they were patrolling all the coast in Florida and the Gulf of Mexico, because it was just infested with German submarines down in that area, much more than people in the country really realized how really close the Germans were to our borders. But they flew out of Guantanamo Bay in Cuba. That was where their planes flew from. And of course, he was out in the Caribbean, and his plane went down over the Bermuda Triangle, and of course he was killed in the war. We weren't aware of everything. We'd go to the movies and see the Pathé News that they'd have, but we didn't have TV. We had radio, of course, but it wasn't as visual, you know. I mean, we couldn't see what was going on. So all we could do is read about it more, and not see what was going on until later on. And through the years, as time has gone on, we've heard these terrible stories about what went on and what happened during the war, and the atrocities and all of that happened.
So from the standpoint of like what you know now about what happened, were the reading and the radio portraying the war like it actually was, or was it like fantasized or romanticized?
Well, we just didn't. In those years, news was not as visual and as vivid. I mean, we are so overexposed with everything. Everything is visually before us, and we didn't have any of that. So we read about it, as I said, in the newspapers, but it was different. Of course, we living on Columbia, not far from Bonneville Dam and all, they feared that maybe that the Japanese might come over and want to bomb the dam, or, you know, attack us in some way. So from our little town of Hood River, there was a strip of land that was built out into the river that was called the Mole. And out at the end of the Mole was a little shack. And in that shack were telephones, and we had a wall. On the wall they had pictures of what the Japanese airplanes would look like, the silhouette of them. And so then everybody, there was always somebody stationed out there on the Mole to watch for enemy planes. And we'd go out there, and I remember there were two of us. There were always two people that were out there together. And we kids in school went out there and sat, and if we see anything that we thought was unusual, or was, you know, like something we saw on the wall, we would call in and report it. Of course, I don't know that anybody ever saw anything through all those years when we were doing that, but they were pretty paranoid about what the attack that might be taken, you know, attack on Bonneville or on up the gorge. I know one thing that happened early on was when President Roosevelt sat down, told us and told the West Coast we had to send all the Japanese people that lived there, had the people that had farms, the Japanese farm owners, they were all sent away. They were put in camps in horrible places, like down in California, out in the desert country, and they built different, in Idaho there was a camp, and and these Japanese people that were kids that we were all in school with, and smart people, and people in business, and people that had big beautiful ranches, they were just ripped up from their homes and sent off. And of course, they hated, you know, we could imagine all their work that they put in developing and building ranches and orchards and everything, and then to have it taken away from them. That was a terrible, terrible thing. That should never have happened, and it was an awful thing. There are many books and stories written about that situation. People have written, and these were wonderful people, just like you and I. They were smart, bright people. Many of them were very bright people, and to have them just removed from the community was just a horrible thing.